We did not want to disappoint you folks. Welcome in the ring, folks. Again, we did not want to disappoint you guys who've been waiting on us and not have a show, but we've been having our own challenges here. Good to have you, Dolly and Marcia and Leslie and all the other folks who are joining us this evening. We didn't want to disappoint you folks who look forward to the program. Lester, Tom, and Abiola and Claire Alexis, Charmley, Richmond, you have our apologies, good folks. Welcome in the ring to each and every one of you, and I think we've just got to get right into it this evening. Great to have you, Diane Skinner and Renella Garnett. Good to have you, Deborah Sherod Lynch, and all the other folks joining us this evening, folks. Good to have you all on the live. You all know how we say it. We on the live. Great to have all of you here with us, and you all know, if you know the broadcast, where we're going. We got a couple of things on the card tonight, folks. We got a couple of things we're looking at. Lots of stuff happening internationally, like it's a year of resignations for heads of state. So we see it in Trinidad and Tobago, we see in Canada. We can get around to some of that. Also, we see some stuff happening on the ground locally here in Guyana. And we're going to talk about some of that. Exploding gas bottles. We're tracking some of that, folks, and brother turning on brother. That's how the new year is starting at our end. But before we get there, good folks, lots, as we said, happening. And you see, I haven't touching nothing. But the Mayor of Linden is in the spotlight. His worship, Sharma Solomon, in the spotlight because he's been fighting back against PPP interference in the Linden Main Town Council. And rightfully so, because they have been spreading a lot of lies, interfering, and then they're saying it's the mayor don't want to do this, it's the mayor don't want to do that. And here is where we begin, folks. He touches on a number of issues. The local government commission that has been defunct for many months now. He touches, good folks, also on the appointment of this town clerk and the payment of workers in the Linden municipality. That is where we begin this evening. Take a look. Take a listen.
This is a council that is prepared to work with and support the initiatives of government in line with obligations constituted.
Mayor of Linden, folks,
responsibility as
like I said, number of challenges. Forgive us.
That's our responsibility. We are not
so a number of things happening, and this all has its genesis in a very wicked and installed regime. I thought we had it. I'm trying to fix it from my end, folks. Forgive us. Number of challenges like you would not believe. And the guys are going to try to address that for us quickly. But good to have all of you on the live tonight. Ingrid Crawford is here. Lester Williams is here. Spurry Lee is here as well. Spurry Lee, how are you doing? Happy New Year to each and every one of you. If we missed it, folks, just in case we missed it, glad to have all of you here with us. Nonetheless, and I'm trying to get it from my end. The guys at the back end trying to get it to John Jones. We see you. Whoever doing what you're doing, stop it now. Stop it now. Please and thank you. Stop it now. Happy to have all of you on with us this evening, folks. Do we have it? I hope we do. Do we have it, folks? Cold Providence, we see you there too. Pace and power. We're happy to have all of you folks with us. And look, it's a good time. It's a good time as ever to see. We don't run the water. Good time as ever to see. We don't run the water. And we hope that you guys continue to partner with us. I'm giving the guys a couple of seconds to get this, try to get it right for us. Remember to partner with us. Did tell you we're battling a number of challenges this evening. A number. All right. Well, if we can't do it one way, let's try to do it another way.
The institutions are there to promote.
We're gonna try to bring it another way. We always gotta get a workaround. Always got to get a workaround.
It's a council that is prepared to work with and support the initiatives of government in line with our obligations constitutionally. Our responsibility as a local government is to work with central government. That's our responsibility. We are not against such an obligation that is clearly statutorily outlined in terms of that relationship between central and local government. The institutions are there to promote those relationships, whether it's local government commission, which we hope to see after its expiration almost a year ago, in place so that those agencies are allowed to work to promote local governance and local structures. We are also aware of our constitutional obligation that provides for 2801 to function. So we understand where our responsibility is, but we also, as a responsible local government, understand where 2801, based on the policies of this council, dictates how this council is to operate in line with those policies, where we have clerks, we have officers that work to support those policies. And I think this is where we have the fundamental hiccup within the system of our three-step approach to governance in this town of Linden. The first being working with government's promotion for fitting Linden into the national agenda. We are here to promote and support that. And second, for the respect of the laws of 2801 to function, to work, so that local government, local governance is given the opportunity to put forward policies that promotes local development and local prosperity. Now, what government would have done where you have those clerks and officers is to implement, to impose, as we demonstrated in 2023 December, our objection to the sole identification of the current town clerk, who campaigned vigorously for the local government elections of the PPP. And last, now here is the gentleman who is now clerk to undermine, and wherever resources are available, to give to family, friends, and favorites, of which over the past year, we would have seen those be done. Now, council is clear in its position that at the end of 2024, all outstanding payments, and we have always been guided by our treasurer,
distribution has been
should be made to every outstanding of the council, which include those workers. So this council never ever took the opportunity to deny workers of their salaries. The decision was made twice and also reiterated at our last finance committee meeting, that the clerk should make a request for every payment, which represents 600 payments. So we still have persons who would have performed services. We have persons who would have been wrongfully sent home and are owed as much as $2 million by this council. That the council, in its policies, the council in its clear decisions, and in review of support from our treasury and treasurer, made the decision that all outstanding payments must be made. And there government intervening, not engaging the council to fully understand where their clerk, politically appointed, was as the sole candidate and being appointed 2 times to the same position, only to be shown that they were erring in his appointment to begin with, are now in defense of the clerk without fully appreciating
experiences of the
scope at which the clerk denies and continues to deny those who the council made a clear decision that all parties must be paid by the request made by the clerk, including those workers.
We are sorting
welcome back, folks. There you have it. There you have it. The Mayor of Linden, Mr. Sharma Solomon, walking us through those issues there, battling through lots of issues there in Region 10, folks, and in particular Linden, where he is the mayor, the interference by the local government commission, and the interference more or less by the minister, since the local government commission has been defunct since April last year. I want you guys to know that Starbuck News took umbrage with what's been happening there at the main town council. Y'all had a chance to read it this morning. The Starbuck News editorial says it's not appropriate because Sonia Parag in her end-of-year press conference, Sonia Parag took it upon herself to say that they will appoint the local government commission at the appropriate time. At the appropriate time. And the Linden, the Sabuk News said it is not up to the minister to dictate when is the appropriate time. That is what Sabuk News said this morning. Do let us know if you're hearing us loud and clear. As I said, folks, there's a number of challenges we're dealing with this evening. Do let us know if you're hearing us loud and clear. But as I said, this is one of the things Sabuk News pointed out in this fantastic editorial this morning. If you have a chance to read it, today's editorial of Sabuk News says it's inappropriate.
Who showed up to get themselves.
That's what Sabuk News says, inappropriate. Now, part of this editorial reads thus, that the minister's response to the matter was that the ministry will continue to have oversight over these local areas, over these local authorities, over these municipalities and so on. That the minister will continue to have oversight, but that the commission will be established at the appropriate time. That was her response. Sabuk News, this is not the New Nation, a fantastic publication from the PNCR. It's not the key from the Alliance for Change. It is Sabuk News. Sabuk News says that is inappropriate. It is not appropriate. First, this is the editorial. The highly politicized ministry should not be having oversight of anything that should be the remit of the local government commission. Ms. Parag has already been accused of interfering in the Linden Town Council, where the governing PPPC has inserted a town clerk who was on the electoral list. This is the jagaback that the mayor is talking about. That inclination, Sabuk News folks, that inclination to try to control the business of the opposition-led local council is divisive, Sabuk News says, and debilitating. You're reading this? Divisive and debilitating. Those are the words of Sabuk News in today's editorial. The words of Sabuk News in today's editorial. That is what it says. Giving it to you folks raw. Moving on to some other issues. A lot of things we're following tonight. You're there with us. Quite a few things we're following tonight. The bridge. A couple months ago, then guys said this bridge 70% complete, 80% complete. But that's not so. Might I advise you all, that is not so. Far from it. Far from it, folks. Far from it. Far from it.
There was a brand new
far from it
for the cash grant. However,
now we're hearing that this bridge is not even going to meet the current deadline. They said by December of next year.
One person died 11 years ago, the next one died.
As a matter of fact, they say that they gave it an insight date of August 31st. And Mr. David Patterson, Chairman of the Alliance for Change, former Minister of Public Works, Minister of Infrastructure, he's saying they cannot meet that date. Even though Juan Edgel is insistent that this bridge is 78% complete, Patterson says no way. Other commentators and critics says no way. No way. And they have called this revised timeline impossible to meet. Impossible to meet. That's one of the things we're following. One of the things we're following, impossible. 78% complete. And we're hearing, they're telling us now, we advise this. So they're telling us what we already know, that the Old Harbor Bridge is not going to be discarded. It's not going to be chopped up for scrap metal, but that they're going to use it to try to bridge some other places, perhaps Legua, Wakenham. Let's see what happens. Perhaps they're going to use it for to bridge the Kukwani River.
To ensure that we
folks,
set up cluster offices.
That's what they're telling us. They're looking at a number of options. I'm happy that when they came into office, they had quite a few things in the pipeline. They didn't have to go and reinvent the wheel. And this is what, good folks, continuity of government is all about. You don't go scrapping everything.
we want to encourage them to not.
You can't run a country like that. Scrapping, scrapping, scrapping.
Collapsing as in the case in
Scrap. We have to scrap that for the next election.
Complaining.
How is the cash grant distribution treating you folks? You know, I'm so heartened. We've had a chance to talk with so many of you, standing in a line, sitting down, waiting for hours. We've had a chance to look some of you in the eyes and say, y'all think this thing is real. This thing should be how it is. And many of you says, no, this whole thing needs overhaul. The whole system needs an overhaul. We're happy finally to hear that Region 6, Region 5, their registration, not the distribution of the cash grant, the registration for the wider population has begun today, and it goes up until the 12th. Begun today and it goes up until the 12th. Folks, you know the distribution aspect of it, quite like the registration too.
The situation
Confusion powder.
no less chaotic.
Confusion powder. We've talked to a number of folks over the last few days.
By people seeking information.
Confusion powder. Take a look. Take a listen.
Clear direction.
Confusion powder.
With regards
Take a
to the
look.
registration process.
The proposed cash grant distribution has been
From my
chaotic in every part of
understanding,
the country.
At the Human
Linden
Services
Regional
Office
Chairman
in
Darren
New
Adams
Amsterdam,
said that whatever system was in
the
place has
disbursement
failed.
Many persons were here yesterday, process,
but in an attempt to optimize the
for persons
processes here
with
at Region
disability
10, the
and
dedicated
old age pension was happening there at the Human Services Office.
But the location attracted hordes of people, according to
Because
McIntosh.
clear directives were not given, persons showed up there only to be sprayed with pepper spray, based on my understanding. Staff were being affected at the Human Services Office. Citizens who showed up to get themselves registered were affected.
He said that where there was some semblance of order, the authorities disrupted the situation.
5 minutes ago, I received a call from the National Insurance Scheme in New Amsterdam. Based on the caller, and it's a minister of the gospel, he would have shared this satisfaction with the process. He's standing there in the line, the sixth person in that line, and persons are being called from behind to go in front of those persons who were there since early this morning.
The conclusion was that people were being handpicked. McIntosh added that the proposed cash grant distribution has been chaotic in every part of the country. Linden Regional Chairman Darren Adams said that whatever system was in place has failed.
many persons were here yesterday, but in an attempt to optimize the processes here at Region 10, the dedicated team in the administration has been advised, and they have been advising me, that they are going to implement a new system where we are going to be sorting the checks from the various areas and the institutions that have already been a part of the process to ensure that we set up cluster offices across the town, and so that everyone is not rushing into the RDC as was the case yesterday.
He said that he concentrated on senior citizens.
And their ID cards through the system, I was able to show them that while their check has been prepared, a site has not been designated as yet for them to uplift that check. And so we want to encourage them to not rush into the compound. We don't want people collapsing, as in the case in Region 4 and other places, and arguing and rowing and complaining. But we are implementing a system that will make you feel comfortable while you wait to uplift your check.
He said that using the experiences of the other regions, Region 10 has found that the goalpost keeps shifting.
Checks are not even ready for many of the pensioners who would have registered first. And so what we're doing, those that came to the RDC, we are sorting them out. Those persons that got registered at NIS, a staff will accompany those documents across the NIS. And once you would have registered via NIS, you're expected to go there. If you were registered at the Linden Hospital Complex or at the Regional Health Office, you were expected to go there, or at the RDC, you're expected to come back here. But not everyone should be coming at this one location.
The situation in New Amsterdam was no less chaotic. Mayor Wainwright McIntosh said that he's being bombarded by people seeking information on the cash grant distribution.
Persons were not given clear directions or directives with regards to the registration process. Now, from my understanding, at the Human Services Office in New Amsterdam, the disbursement and registration process for persons with disability and old age pension was happening there at the Human Services Office.
But the location attracted hordes of people, according to McIntosh.
Because clear directives were not given, persons showed up there only to be sprayed with pepper spray, based on my understanding. Staff were being affected at the Human Services Office. Citizens who showed up to get themselves registered were affected.
He said that where there was some semblance of order, the authorities disrupted the situation.
5 minutes ago, I received a call from the National Insurance Scheme in New Amsterdam. Based on the caller, and it's a minister of the gospel, he would have shared this satisfaction with the process. He's standing there in the line, the sixth person in that line, and persons are being called from behind to go in front of those persons who were there since early this morning.
The conclusion was that people were being handpicked. McIntosh added that the authorities were slow or were reluctant to share information with the political opposition. And Bartica was no different. Member of Parliament Joretta Finance said that there was no system in place to facilitate the distribution.
We came yesterday, they were trying to have the senior citizens and persons with disabilities over at the St. John School, which is right next door. Today, when I got in here, I saw senior citizens choked up in lines, persons living with disabilities in lines. It was crazy. I saw a woman with a baby, a young baby, just can't be more than 2 months old in a line. So I took it upon myself. I've been here all morning. I didn't even look for my ID card, I said, because I came with the intention to check to see if my name is on the list. But when I got here, that's the last thing I can even look at.
She said that at the National Assembly, specific questions were asked about the cash grant distribution.
And we asked the Prime Minister, how is the distribution going to be done? We particularly asked, why can't public servants receive these monies through their bank accounts? If we had public servants receiving money through bank accounts, a lot of these people wouldn't have been here. Why couldn't the pensioners receive the money the same way they're receiving their pension? They would not have had to be here.
And contrary to the promise by Irfan Ali, the vast majority of people never got their money for the Christmas holidays. What was shocking was that there was a brand new registration for the cash grant. However, that people were registered.
Yes, names were being called out. And what happens, a lot of persons that died 1 person died 11 years ago, the next one died 4 years ago, their name were called out. I know somebody that's overseas for over a year, their name was called out. My grandmother's, her husband's name was called out. So when they realized that there was a lot of public pressure, persons are so frustrated and exhausted, right? When they realized that there was so much public pressure, so why are we hearing names of persons that are deceased and persons that are not here? They could not have registered. So they decided that they're not going to call names over on the speaker. They're not going to call on the microphone.
The proposed cash grant.
Yep. It's a lot of dead people names calling. A lot of dead people names calling. How the cash grant distribution treating you folks? Have you guys gone to get registered? Region 5 and Region 6, they're registering in your neck of the woods. Those of you who in the wider population, go out and get registered. It is your money. As we are in Region 5, folks at Cotton Tree, Deepak Bacchus, 27 years old. He's been remanded to prison for the alleged manslaughter of his brother, Karen Bacchus. Folks, here just start. He appeared before Ravindra Mohabir, Magistrate Ravindra Mohabir, quite recently, and he was not required to plead to this indictable charge. And he has been denied bail as well. As we said, remanded. The altercation occurred on January 1, fresh into the new year. And Karen died at the New Amsterdam Public Hospital with a post-mortem revealing that he died of asphyxia and blood in the airway. Thoughts and prayers with his family. Brother killing mother. That's what we're seeing, folks. Look what else we're following as the year starts. Confusion powder. Sprinkle all over this place. Dinesh Prasad, 28 years old, of Blairmont and West Bank Berbice. He has been remanded to prison as well for stealing a motor car valued at $3.2 million from a contractor, one Ramich Dashrat. $3.2 million. Car was stolen on December 26th, Boxing Day. Later found in Prasad's possession on New Year's, the Olive Diamond on the East Bank. And he also appeared before Magistrate Ravindra Mohabir. He was denied bail. Ravindra Mohabir, Magistrate, is in a mode. Denied bail, remanded. Go and contemplate on your actions. Please and thank you. Contemplate on the actions. Folks, when are we appointing these two fantastic jurists? Two of the best in the region. Don't let anybody tell you all differently. The substantive chancellor. When are we going to appoint the substantive chancellor? When are we going to appoint the Chief Justice? Folks on the ground say they might want to appoint the Shalimar Haq. Shalimar Haq. More on that later. That's word in the ground. But it was a show of support today outside of the Court of Appeal, insisting, demanding that Irfan Ali appoint these two persons to the substantive post. Again, that very editorial we spoke to you as we started this evening. It's in today's Sabbath News required reading. It talks about this too. That Irfan can decide in his own sweet time, as he liked to say, at the appropriate time, when he's going to make this appointment. It's incumbent upon him. Please, I'm giving Sabbath News some free PR right now. Read the editorial. Fantastic. Because some folks tend to think, oh, it's only opposition. It's only these rabble-rousers. Sabbath News mainstream says it's the right thing to do. We heard from some of the folks today who are outside of the Court of Appeal. Take a look. Take a listen.
Today, a group staged a protest outside the Guyana Court of Appeal. The group, Citizens Movement, is objecting to the refusal by President Irfan Ali to confirm Justice Yonet Cummings and Justice Roxanne George as Chancellor and Chief Justice. The two women have been active in the positions for 7 years. The last confirmed Chancellor was the late Justice Desiree Bernard. It hasn't escaped notice that the two women are Black. Head of the movement, Audriana Thomas, said that the widely held view that after 7 years, the woman should be confirmed.
As professional women can be swept away out of their professions possibly, or not be promoted with no satisfactory reason. And so we're demanding greater respect for professional women.
She said that without doubt, the two women are distinguished jurists.
It's difficult to accept that they're not fit and proper to be confirmed in their substantive positions.
One contention was the coalition didn't confirm the two women. The reality was that the opposition leader Bara Jagdeo didn't agree to their confirmation then. Member of Parliament Annette Ferguson was among those in the picket line.
Government of the day has failed to do what is required of them in accordance to the Constitution of the Cooperative Republic of Guyana. But mind you, even before 2015, the nation must be reminded that you had Chief Justice Ian Chang and Chancellor Carl Singh, who were acting in those very positions for years. If you would recall, Mr. Joseph Harmon did signal his support to have these women, Chancellor Cummins and Justice George, to be appointed in their substantive positions. You had a change in the leadership of the opposition, and Mr. Aubrey Norton, the current leader of the opposition, is on record saying that, well, look, he is in full support.
She said that even before the women acceded to the current offices, they have been serving the country with distinction. Both Justice Cummings and Justice George had served as Director of Public Prosecutions.
Collectively in the National Assembly, we are on record. We are on record saying to the government in the National Assembly that it is time for these women to be appointed. Just a couple of weeks ago, a couple of days ago, I have written a letter to the editor calling for the appointments of these women.
Another member of parliament, Amanza Walton, this year said that she isn't certain that the government understands the seriousness of the situation.
In the midst of an obvious breakdown of the police force, Irfan Ali hastened to confirm the appointment of Police Commissioner Hickey, even though he's past the age, and some other top brass of the police force. Now, what is the excuse then for not appointing two clearly very competent women?
She described a recent statement by President Irfan Ali that the appointment of a Chancellor and a Chief Justice should take the judiciary to a place that one would be proud of.
France saying that these two women are not capable of taking our judiciary to a place that we could be proud of. What complicates this matter more is that arguably the Chief Justice has ruled in favor of the government in more instances than not.
She said that when one looks at every aspect of the situation, no one can be faulted for concluding that the non-confirmation is because the two women are black.
Because you can't accuse them of incompetence. You can't accuse them of corruption. And like I said, in fact, they've ruled for you more times than not. So what then is the problem? This situation highlights, and I know that got, people from the police and national security and so on filming and recording, so I hope they hear this very loud and clear. This situation, and I am here, let me make this very clear, in my capacity as a professional woman, as an Afro-Guyanese woman, because I have a difficulty with the message this situation is sending. And that is that it does not matter how competent or how qualified you are as a black woman in this country, that unless you are willing to be seen as kissing some ring somewhere, your appointment to your substantive position is jeopardized.
Yep. Nobody kiss you no ring, folks. Nobody kiss you no ring. We put out some information concerning this very issue quite recently. And we premised it on some comments that the Alliance for Change leader Nigel Hughes had offered on it, that these distinguished ladies should be appointed. Take a look. Appoint them, Irfan. Come on. There are renewed calls for the appointment of the substantive Chancellor of the Judiciary and the Chief Justice of Guyana. These posts have not been filled for over 17 years. In April 2022, the President of the Caribbean Court of Justice, the Honorable Adrian Saunders, himself weighed in on the matter saying, and I quote, "I believe I have a right and a public duty to express the view that Guyana should not let this year pass and do not remedy this regrettable situation. This is 2025, and President Irfan Ali has said more or less what he has said from the start of his tenure. Basically, hold on." Here is what he said recently in his end-of-year press conference.
There's a process to be followed, and as president, I would follow the process, taking into consideration all the circumstances that exist to ensure that we have the Chancellor and Chief Justice that would continue to take the judiciary into a place that all of us will be proud of, all of the region will be proud of. So, as president, the issue of the Chancellor and Chief Justice is one that is being continuously looked at. It's not that we don't have a Chancellor and Chief Justice now. We do have a Chancellor and Chief Justice acting, just like we had a Commissioner of Police acting for a period, and the police commissioner was confirmed recently. I didn't invent the situation. I didn't invent the situation of the acting Chancellor and Chief Justice. But yes, I take the point that we have to move ahead with this.
Political parties in this new year are continuing to weigh into this issue, as the leader of the Alliance for Change, Nigel Hughes, did recently in their weekly press conference, expressing grave concerns.
It is now evident that President Ali does not intend to confirm either the Chancellor, Ms. Yana Cummings, or the Chief Justice, Ms. Roxanne George, in their respective positions. They have served in these positions for 7 years, and it is evident now that he does not intend to confirm them. So the country has to ask some questions. In an election year, which this is, the President said that he will shortly let us know who his persons are to be nominated for the position of Chancellor and Chief Justice. This clearly means that he doesn't intend to appoint these persons. And as you know, any decision taken in an election year, particularly in regard to the judiciary, is looked at with great suspicion. And so we have to examine the process of appointments of judges and the process by which people are confirmed or appointed as Chancellor. It was our hope at the last constitutional reform talks that by requiring the consent of the leader of the opposition, that we at least would reach to some position of national consensus. It is evident that after the retirement of Madam Chancellor Bernard, the country has not ever had any form of consensus. And so now we come to an election year where the president says he will identify. Well, in the interest of transparency and in the interest of this country, we believe that the bases upon which judges, the chancellor, and the chief justice is appointed in their individual cases must be made public. So we first of all should know what the criteria is. This should no longer be left to the head of state as some form of privilege, but the entire country should know what the selection criteria is for the appointment of judges, whether at the High Court or Court of Appeal level. An advertisement is not sufficient. I think the entire country deserves to know the basis upon which persons are considered. So in the case of the Chancellor and the Chief Justice, if the President does not intend to inform us or does not intend to confirm them, he needs to inform all of us about the reason why he would have allowed them to have acted for 7 years and now at this late stage of the day, not confirmed them.
The Alliance for Change also expressed additional concerns related to the judiciary of Guyana, in particular, the appointment of judges.
There has been a lot of disquiet and rumors, suspicion in relation to the upcoming appointments to the Court of Appeal. There was an announcement in one of the major press centers, Starbuck News, I believe sometime in December, that they had identified some judges who had been nominated to be appointed to the Court of Appeal. The very long delay and complete absence of any comment arising out of the judiciary in relation to why those appointments have not been made public is cause for speculation. It gets worse because the quality of some of the persons who have been rejected, who appeared to most of the profession to have been eminently qualified for appointment, has led to even further speculation. And so I think the country ought to know exactly what is going on in relation to the appointment of judges to the Court of Appeal. We can no longer afford to assume that there is full transparency and that the persons who are appointed to the Judicial Service Commission act in necessarily the most transparent manner. And in keeping with our commitments to fairness, equality, and transparency, we believe that the criteria ought to be made public before any further announcement is made, either in regard to the confirmation or non-confirmation of the Chancellor and Chief Justice, and also those persons who have been appointed to the Court of Appeal.
And that's where we are on the appointment of the Chancellor of the Judiciary and the Chief Justice of Guyana. If you didn't know, now you know. Make the criteria public. Correct is right. Make it public. Do you agree that Infant Ali has no intention of appointing these two eminently qualified ladies as Chancellor and Chief Justice, respectively? I think the comments made by Member of Parliament Amanzo Walton Desir in that show of support there outside of the Court of Appeal is worthy of note. Is it about race? Is it about sex? Is it about gender? Here's some of what Amanzo said. Take a listen.
I think the Irfan Ali administration, I'm not quite sure that they understand the seriousness of what is happening. It's either they don't understand, or the more likely scenario is that they don't care. I think when you juxtapose the situation happening in the judiciary with what is happening in our police, let's as Guyanese, let's take an objective look at this thing. You have a police force that is riddled with scandal after scandal about corruption, about the commissioner himself admitted to collecting monies on behalf of police. We have a police officer, over 200 charges before the court. In the midst of an obvious breakdown of the police force, Irfan Ali hastened to confirm the appointments of Police Commissioner Hickey, even though he's past the age, and some other top brass of the police force. Now, what is the excuse then for not appointing two clearly very competent women to the judiciary, to the two top posts? They've been acting in it for some years, and it is therefore unfathomable to me, and I wish Irfan would explain it, because I noticed a very asinine statement in the media about appointing a chancellor and a chief justice that could take the judiciary to a place that we could be proud of. Is Irfan saying that these two women are not capable of taking our judiciary to a place that we could be proud of? What complicates this matter more is that arguably the Chief Justice has ruled in favor of the government in more instances than not. So I'm going through this systematically to sort of see if there is along the way some reason that these two very competent ladies cannot be appointed. Now, when you look across the entire situation, you can't fault anybody for concluding that it is because these two women are Black Guyanese, Afro-Guyanese, that it is because they are women, or that there is some reluctance to appoint them to their substantive position. That is the only logical conclusion for anybody looking on to come to. Because you can't accuse them of incompetence. You can't accuse them of corruption. And like I said, in fact, they've ruled for you more times than not. So what then is the problem? And I'm going to say this situation highlights, and I know that got, people from the police and national security and so on filming and recording, so I hope they hear this very loud and clear. This situation, and I am here, let me make this very clear, in my capacity as a professional woman, as an Afro-Guyanese woman, because I have a difficulty with the message this situation is sending. And that is that it does not matter how competent or how qualified you are as a Black woman in this country, that unless you are willing to be seen as kissing some ring somewhere, your appointment to your substantive position is jeopardized. And I have a difficulty with that because it's sending a message to the next generation of women in Guyana that it doesn't matter how much you go to school, how much you study, how much you qualify yourself, how much you excel, that you're being given the acknowledgement that you deserve is left to the mercy of a government and of a political system that would confirm a commissioner of police riddled with allegations of corruption. But these two eminent jurists that have served, you have a problem. with confirmed death. And I have a difficulty with that message being sent to the next generation of Guyanese women. You see, these women are at an intersection of gender and of race. And it is unfortunate. So Irfan, you need to come with a very good explanation as to why these two women are not yet confirmed. Because I want you to understand, you look small on the international stage. So it doesn't matter the grandiose plans that you announce. You look petty. When you have two women who are qualified for the job and you can't appoint them as yet, and making asinine statements about, taking judiciary to a place that we could be proud of. Is the police force at the place that we could be proud of, but you confirmed the commissioner nonetheless? So you need to come with better, because Guyana is at the point where we deserve leaders who can lead, and not leaders who are going to be petty in the way they operate. Okay. So until and unless Irfan Ali and his government could demonstrate to the people of Guyana that there is some reason that we don't know of, that these two eminent jurists can be confirmed in the position. And I will add that the leader of the opposition has given his no objection as is required by the Constitution. So there is no visible impediment to them being appointed. Until he so appoints, I will directly accuse him of being racist, of being sexist, because I could see no other reason as to why these women are not appointed.
Amanzo, the Bar Association.
I can't speak for the Bar Association.
It should have some role.
For the Legal Association. I could speak for me as an Afro-Guyanese woman and as a political leader in this country. This situation is unacceptable. And I want other Guyanese, I want all Guyanese brothers and sisters to understand. Now, when you sit down in your home and you grumble about, Irfan is being very unfair to these women by not confirming them, but you do not think it necessary to come out here and sound your voice, the direction that this country takes, we will have no one to blame but ourselves, because we have a duty to stand up and speak up, irrespective of the cost. And I really commend these organizations that came out here today to make their voices heard. And every professional woman who has worked, who has studied, who has spent sleepless nights juggling family, work, and studies ought to understand that they have a stake in the outcome of this. So this is not a struggle we could outsource to anybody. This is something that we have to be directly concerned about. So I can't tell you about the Bar Association and the other organizations. The fact that this matter was spoken about at the level of the CCJ and lamented about at the level of the CCJ, and the Bar Association does not think it fit to somehow sound their voices in support, says a lot about their leadership, about what they are about, and about the fact that they seem to be happy with the direction Guyana is going in.
Welcome back, folks. Well, that's the part of confusion. Thank you so much, Amanzo. Really putting things there in perspective. You could appoint Hickins, but these two ladies somehow wouldn't make this country proud, wouldn't make the region proud. That's the part of confusion there. You got Court of Appeal, you got GECOM, you got State House, on that same stretch. High Street into Main Street, court of confusion. Because right at GECOM, they got their own problems. Their own problems with integrity. And as Dr. David Hines said today in the WPA, the Working People's Alliance press conference, if you get a whole set of false and flawed rules, how you can get credible results? How you can produce free and fair elections from that? GECOM. So GECOM's own integrity is on the line. Here is Dr. Hines, folks. As we wrap up, the closer, Dr. Hines and GECOM, corner confusion.
As we enter the new year, WPA wishes to reiterate its concern at GECOM's sloth in addressing the major issues identified by the political opposition as barriers to the integrity of the upcoming general and regional elections. The issues surrounding the voters list, the use of biometrics, and the impartiality of GECOM's chair and staff are too critical to the outcome of the elections to be left hanging mere months before the due date of the elections. For the WPA, the integrity of these elections are paramount, and GECOM is duty-bound to address and resolve to the satisfaction of all stakeholders, at a minimum, the major stumbling blocks. Elections must not only be set to be free and fair, but must be seen to be free and fair. Most importantly, in a situation whereby the very legitimacy of GECOM is being questioned by major stakeholders, the electoral body must go the extra mile to ensure that concerns are amicably addressed. Going to an election with half the electorate being dissatisfied with the rules is a major risk in an already deeply divided country such as ours. Guyana's deep ethnic cleavage has been compounded by its transition to a petro-state. The ruling party, the PPP, and its operatives at GECOM appear oblivious to the consequences of this reality in an election year. WPA again warns the country of the inherent risks. We respect the right of each party to forecast victory at the upcoming elections, but we ask whether the country can withstand the socio-political and economic price for victory in circumstances of fear and lack of confidence in the legitimacy of the process. WPA has always preferred elections where there are no absolute winners and no absolute losers. This is especially relevant in 2025. We predict that these elections will be the most ethno-politically divisive since 1961. And it is reckless for GECOM and the PPP to ignore this assessment. Everywhere in the world where ethnicity and oil wealth have collided, the outcome has been disastrous. True to prediction, the coming of oil wealth has increased rather than decreased ethnic tensions in Guyana. Ethnicity, oil wealth, and winner-take-all elections in Guyana represent extreme danger. Because WPA is committed to elections as a primary form of governmental change, we put much store on getting the process right. We are not satisfied that GECOM is getting it right. The lessons of the 2020 elections are not being heeded. Those elections taught us that electoral malpractice occurs long before election day, on election day itself, and after election day. Because GECOM is tied to the hip of the PPP, it has to date done little or nothing to correct the errors of 2020. While the political opposition has advocated for change, the PPP is adamant that the flawed status quo is the way to go. The issue of participating in an election with flawed arrangements must be addressed by the opposition at some point. WPA does not want to preempt that development at this point. However, against that background, we urge a dual approach of advocacy and preparation. Even as we prepare for the elections, we must continue to push the country to the realization that elections with flawed rules are unacceptable and should be strenuously resisted.
Yep, you heard it for yourself there, folks. Lots to consider. Elections with flawed rules, unacceptable and should be resisted. That's going to do it for us at this end, folks. That's our time this evening. And forgive our shortcomings, forgive us many challenges this evening. That's our program. Stay safe, each and every one of you joining us. Marlene and Leonard, Everett, Pinky, Sandra, Joylyn, Keisha Brown, Auntie Sandra Hanover. Good to have all of you. Shireen, we see you too. And Pinky, Gary, Alison Cortez, Nayod, and I see Candy, Patricia, Jamal. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for staying with us this evening. That's our time and that's our program. Stay safe.